right, senior U.S. officials are set to visit China this week in an effort to bolster relations amid simmering trade tensions. This is as China's Huawei Technologies is reportedly readying a new chip that will challenge Nvidia. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, a sign that U.S. obstacles have failed to limit Chinese companies' abilities to keep pace with U.S. tech. Joining us now, Chris Miller, Tufts Assistant Professor of International History and author of Chip War, the fight for the world's most critical technology. So, Chris, another update in the chip war as far as U.S. versus China today with the news of Huawei building that chip. I'd be curious just sort of your takeaway here, what it means for U.S. chip companies in China to have Huawei building this product right now.
Well, I would say, first off, we don't know much about the details of this new Huawei chip. So how good it will actually be, how many will actually be produced, we're going to have to wait and see. And a lot really does depend on those details. But I think we shouldn't be surprised that Huawei is trying to build newer and better chips, given that the Chinese government has anointed Huawei as the country's chip champion, given it all the resources that it needs to try to catch up to Western leaders in chip production like Nvidia.
Chris, we're sort of awaiting economic policy details from Kamala Harris and that campaign. We have a general idea of what we're getting in former President Trump. What are your key questions for Harris when it comes to U.S.-China trade?
Well, I think the key question is, will she pursue a different policy from the Biden administration or something really quite similar? When it comes to chip issues and technology competition with China, the reality is that there's been a lot of similarity between what the Biden administration has done and what the Trump administration did when it was in power. And I don't think it's likely that Harris would meaningfully shift from any of those positions, whether it's about subsidizing domestic manufacturing or trying to limit technology transfer to China. Both of those policies have bipartisan support, and they've persisted across multiple administrations. And so I think it's fair to assume that a potential future President Harris would do something broadly similar.
And Chris, we've been talking about China here, and I'm curious about the Taiwan risk, knowing that a lot of the AI accelerators are manufactured over there. What sort of risk lies there right now for the chip sector?
Well, you're right that the AI industry is hugely dependent on Taiwan. It's almost the case that all AI processors are manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan. And this has been one of the reasons why the US, as well as other countries, have been trying to diversify chip supply chain. But right now, the reality is that the manufacturing capabilities of Taiwan's leading chip maker, TSMC, are ahead of competitors. And that's why, whether it's Google or whether it's Nvidia, companies are turning to TSMC to manufacture their most important AI chips.
And when it comes to the attempts to reshore some of the chip industry, there was a report in the FT this week that some of the big projects that had been initially sort of greenlit as part of the CHIPS Act or the IRA, that there were some delays or maybe even outright cancellations. I'm just curious of your assessment of those efforts. Obviously, even when they're on time, they're not going to change the industry for quite a while. So I'm curious how you're thinking about that.
Well, I think you're right that these facilities are built over multiple years, and the industry has been building plants now for over half a century. So even if you begin building a series of new plants in the US, it only slowly begins to move the needle when it comes to where the majority of chips are produced. If you look at the plants that are under construction in the US right now, some of them have been delayed, but most of them are on target. And I think we should expect over the next couple of years, as these plants come online, and it always does take a long time to build chip plants, that you're going to see a major increase in capacity to manufacture chips in the United States. There's really no doubt that the CHIPS Act has catalyzed a surge of investment in new facilities like these. And it's around the middle of the decade, next year into 2026, 2027, when most of these plants will come online.
Chris, great to catch up with you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.